Never shall innocent blood be shed, yet the blood of the wicked shall flow like a river. The three shall spread their blackened wings and be the vengeful striking hammer of God. You people have been chosen to reveal our existence to the world. You will witness what happens here today, and you will tell of it later. All eyes to the front. You must watch, dear. It'll all be over soon.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick.
It is your corrupt we claim.
It is your evil that will be sought by us.
With every breath, we shall hunt them down.
Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies.
Do not kill, do not rape, do not steal. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace.
These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And those of you that ignore them will pay the dearest cost.
There are varying degrees of evil. We urge you lesser forms of filth, not to push the bounds and cross over into true corruption, into our domain.
For if you do, one day you will look behind you and you will see we three. And on that day, you will reap it.
And we will send you to whatever God you wish.
And shepherds we shall be, for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand. Therefore may swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow ever forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be.
In nomine Patri.
Et Filii, Spiritus Sancti.
How far are we going to take this star?
The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess the Constitution? The depth of faith to go as far as is needed?
Hey guys.
Good evening.
Hello.
Man, it's been eons since we've been on.
It does feel that way, doesn't it?
There's a lot of stuff happening in the world.
Which is what we were talking about before the stream.
Right.
There you go, Chief.
So, are we going to touch on it? Indirectly, yes. People have formed their opinions, and Plutarch is kind of tuned in with some facts that I don't have, and I have much more awareness than most people, and I've formed my opinion. I've talked to a few others, and they've formed their opinions, but they don't have the facts that I do, or as much insight. And so, basically, everybody's operating on emotion, making emotional decisions, and how do you know what's going on in the other side of the world? Can you know the future? Yes, in some ways, with themes that are going to come your way. Events, not really. But no, I don't think we're on the verge of World War III. Quite.
Oh,
yet.
Steve, the correct answer is sic et non.
And what's that mean, Nick?
Yes and no.
Oh. So that's my intro. What do you guys have to say?
Well,
Num-
go ahead, Nick.
Numbers don't lie. There you go, Plutarch.
Which is why I love numbers. And building on that, yes, I am one of the terminally online. My job does require that I sit in front of a computer for large portions of the day. So I have a constant flow of information coming in, and it's mostly in the background as I'm working away, but occasionally something pops up and I go, that's interesting, and I'll file it away. But Steve, even I, for all the information I get, I am struggling to see the end of the world.
But there's another thing that Plutarch does. He's been kind of a Twitter troll lately.
Thanks, Steve.
And he engages with people. And it's kind of fun, but he tries to bring the truth. So let's go to the first clip. And Plutarch has not seen this, but he's going to laugh his ass off.
Okay. The clip is
what
only
are we talking about tonight?
Or the first, video.
First video.
We're talking about the future.
Well, this originally started when I sent a video to Steve about men in China, and so that clip. What?
Yeah.
Which time?
Which time?
That's not the first clip we're going to show.
Correct.
Okay, we're going to talk about things that are happening in China and how they're going to come here. So that in that way, we're going to say, yeah, be ready for the future. But before we do that, let's have some fun.
Okay, we can have fun. Here we go. Clip is only a minute long, so that's unusual for us.
One of the best ways to drain people's energy nowadays is via the internet. This woman is an astrophysicist. Actually, this is not how space works. Read a book. These are all different accounts that I have set up. The energy you get this way isn't quite as pure, but if you do enough of it, it'll fill you up. Shanghai sucked. Where was the Chinatown?
It's surprisingly simple to get total strangers completely furious with you.
They should get a life. When they call you a dumbass, you know you've got them. They called me a dumbass. There's some kind of human nerd who is telling people to ignore me. I mean, he's getting my accounts suspended left and right. This will not stand. I mean, he's stealing my food now. He just told people that I live in my mother's basement. Actually, I live in my own basement. Dumbass. Fire. Oh no, he's getting to me.
Okay, that's it.
Okay. That is not what I was trying
That's
to
awesome.
do. But it does feel that way sometimes.
It's so hilarious because people get engaged in these online Twitter wars or whatever, and they get so worked up about what somebody else said.
Oh yeah,
what-
it reminds
I
me.
know.
Even when I'll talk to some girls will talk to me online. They try to throw shade at me, or I'll do it in person, right? Ask me what I do, and I'm like, I really don't give a shit. I'll tell you what I do. I live in my mother's basement and play video games all day, ordering pizza and ice cream.
Does that get them to go away?
No, damn it.
Nuts.
They laugh.
Because they know you're joking.
No shit. But am I?
Well, looking at your
Obviously, yeah.
videos, clearly not.
Yeah, I know shit.
Yeah. So, what the thing online, the thing that has frustrated me lately is that I can put high quality data in front of somebody, and it's not that they react negatively, it's that they don't react at all. It's like that ends the conversation, because apparently on the internet, if you're not agreeing with somebody's narrative, you're wrong and need to be removed from the conversation. And to me, I kind of giggle at it because that is exactly how you get to the crisis. You know, I was talking with my dad, and it was like, and my brothers, and it's like, well, how do we know we're not in a crisis yet? Because if we did, then people would not be attempting to push their own narratives. They would be looking for answers, and they'd be looking for data. And this actually is relevant to where we're going with this episode later tonight, because
Yes, it is.
the Chinese are in the crisis. They are in their crisis now, and you can see that the propaganda failing all over the place. People just stop caring what the narrative is supposed to be, and they just start stating things as fact.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to bring up my what happened to me or what I did today. I didn't work today. I rarely work on Wednesdays.
You slacker.
But end of last week, my car started making noises.
See it.
And so, oh yeah, I added some power steering fluid. Okay, great. 2 days later,
It leaked.
making the same noises. And there's a puddle under my car.
You got
So,
a leak. Yeah.
You know, I called to get it in. I said, I need to make an appointment. Oh, okay. You want to drop it off tomorrow morning? What? You can get me in tomorrow morning. Oh, okay. Now, when was the last time you heard a reputable car shop be able to get your car in on one day? Like, you call in the afternoon, we can do it tomorrow morning. It doesn't say good for the economy. Anyway, that's not the joke. So I'm driving the car to drop it off this morning. It's acting just like a woman. every time I try to give some correction to the direction it's going, it whines.
It's true though.
So you got a power steering
So
fluid leak?
yeah, it's a high pressure hose. Yeah, and it's a little bit involved. I need some other work done. Okay, I'm going to
Hopefully
spend
not.
$2,500 fixing my car, but it's probably been 2 years, 2.5 years since I spent any money on the car. And the last time I had the spark plugs changed. So, okay, it is what it is.
Oh, well, here's all I'd say to that is it is for all you men out there, it is better to have a used car that you have to put a little bit of money into occasionally than a frickin' $700 a month loan payment on a brand new car that's you're still going to have to put money into it in a few years anyway.
Exactly. So, oh, that's what it costs? Yeah, I kind of expected that. I need new catalytic converters as well. I knew that.
That'll be spendy.
That's the most
Well, that's
expensive part.
included there.
That's probably $1,500. That's probably the $1,500
Yeah,
of the whole thing, isn't it?
Probably.
Yeah, that's $1,500 of it. Yeah, oil change,
Okay.
power steering hose, high pressure
Tires.
hose, and 2 catalytic converters.
Oh, 2 of them. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of post 2010 cars have dual cats in them.
Mhm.
Fucking EPA.
So
Fuck them.
that's fine. I mean, it's still a cheap car. It's not fancy. It's a 2016 Ford Edge. It's a nice car. Doesn't have
remember
all
selling
the
those
gee
things.
whiz bells and whistles. It's got some electronics. I really wouldn't want more electronics than this one has.
Gosh, those are expensive to fix, especially with all those computers and the computer screens. That shit breaks
Yeah.
down, you're talking thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, my joke about women. Have you been noticing? We've been hearing a lot more whining from women lately.
We can't find a good man. All the men have opted out of dating and marrying. No shit.
And I have a student loan and I've been paying, but the balance is not going down. And the government needs to come to my help, come to my assistance.
No,
Okay.
do not rescue the parasites.
Well, the other thing I
So-
want to point out here is we said this was coming. And
Yeah.
Steve, you were saying, at the opening, can you know the future? I cannot know specific events, but we can notice trends. We can see where things might be going. And oh, look, one of the trends that we said would happen is starting to happen.
So,
It's a
okay,
Scooby-Doo mystery.
The trend is starting. Can you deny that there's a trend in this direction? Where is this trend going to take us? Oh, how about we look to China? So let's
Steve, are
bring
you
up the
saying
next
China
thing.
might be ahead of us?
In this area? Yes. In economic decline and hardship? Yes. In so many ways. China, okay, they played catch up. The U.S. went from an agrarian, mostly rural population to a mostly city population in the course of 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
We digested that, adjusted to that, moved there was inner city, and then there were suburbs, and families were raised in the suburbs. China did that. They industrialized and went from rural to city in about 30, 35 years, something like that.
Yep.
When they moved to the city, they didn't do suburbs. They did high rises. And boom, they brought the women into the workforce, educated the women, and boom, everything just looking great.
Until
But
it didn't.
people don't raise families in high rises. Doesn't happen in the US, doesn't happen in China. And all the stuff between, the division between men and women. Okay, China has different circumstances than the US, but the same dynamic is happening, and it's actually worse in China. And that's why we're going to watch what's going on in China. Plutarch, you're going to have something to say about that.
I am. And this comes down to human psychology. Humans are human no matter where they are on Earth. And there is this view, particularly amongst lib dems, but older people in general, that you can create that different circumstances will create different outcomes in terms of human psychology. And what we are learning is that really isn't how it works. Human psychology is more or less immutable. Yeah, it can change over large periods of time. But so what Steve was saying, the US had 150 years roughly. That's about 6 generations to absorb the transition from agrarian to industrial. The Chinese tried to speed run it in a generation and a half to 2 generations. And it doesn't work because the human psychology cannot adapt fast enough. Now, we're going to show how even then it's still coming here, because it just so happens that same 150 years is also the same 150 years of the rise of feminism in the United States. And so
Yeah.
Go
ahead. I want to say something before we start.
Okay. One of the things that we have seen is that there has been as we have globalized as a species, there has been a synchronization of these rises and falls. And I made a point on Twitter that really pissed somebody off to the point where they didn't respond at all. That said, maybe, just maybe, this is actually part of God's design of the system that we're in. That the things that are happening are a guardrail on the human condition. They prevent us from going so far forward so fast that our psychology can't keep up, but they also keep us from going too slow that we stagnate and die. If you were creating a system with a lot of actors, you too might want to consider putting in some guardrails for how they behave. And I think that is wired into our psychology. So that's where I think this is going. Steve, you want to say something?
So why is China ahead of us? It's quite simple.
Oh, okay.
I think
in the bad way.
Yes.
Yes.
In the bad way.
Why are they foretelling our future? Because things are bad there. Okay, and I know this from the crude oil production, because that's a perfect example. The U.S. started and it built up the crude oil to a peak conventional production in the early 70s. And then it fell off at about this. It was a symmetrical curve. And then we got shale that added on to that. But if you think about shale, it would zoom up and then it's kind of going zoom down. It was a faster peak, faster to full production, and it's falling off faster. Conventional went slowly up to full peak, and it's slowly coming down. So the U.S. went slowly up to, 150 years, up to peak city, and we're going to decline, whatever that means, in a similar manner. China would zoom up pretty much means they're going to go zoom down.
Well, if you guys look at bell curves, what
Yeah, it's a bell curve, classic bell curve.
what Steve is talking about is called leptokurtosis, which you get a steeper curve up, but you also get a steeper curve back down the other side. So there's your $1 million word for the show.
It doesn't have to happen that way.
No, it doesn't.
I can't say that it's a certainty, but it certainly is my observation that most often it does work out that way.
Well, and to Steve's point, there are two other words. There's mesokurtosis, which is a standard bell curve, and there's platykurtosis, which is a flattened bell curve. So even in statistics, they have different curves, and we could have a different curve here. I don't know. We'll see. Ready for the video,
We'll
Steve?
see. Yeah.
Okay.
Loss of control, Chinese society plunges into chaos. Revenge attacks and random killings to express social dissatisfaction continue to spread across China. Experts criticize CCP's information suppression and crackdown on dissent as key drivers of China's cycle of violence. Is famine returning? Mass looting of crops in China. Farmers face devastating losses amid economic hardship. From the wealthy to ordinary citizens, all are seeking ways to leave China. US, Japanese, and South Korean consulates are overloaded. People vote with their feet, shaming the CCP. Political struggles more treacherous than battlefields. Nearly 100 CCP generals purged. Shocking revelations. Food in China, so toxic, even dogs won't eat it. CCP officials enjoy exclusive supplies while ordinary citizens harm themselves. You're watching Decoding China, where we bring you timely analysis and grounded perspectives on today's China.
If you have controlling urges for the P word, there's actually new brain scans that reveal 3 helpful discoveries that will help you quit.
This isn't the one about
Chinese society plunges
the
into
women.
chaos.
Maybe that
No,
was
you
a
had
different
that
one. We'll find it.
Yeah, you have it in here. The
Okay. We'll watch this one first.
yeah. How far do you want to go?
Oh, okay. Well, let's just deal with the headlines. Revenge attacks and random killings. Have we ever mentioned Plutarch? Have you ever mentioned Night of the Long Knives?
A few times.
We've mentioned that in regards to what happens in the probably around 2029 through 2032 here in the U.S.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
We hope it doesn't happen
Okay.
like that, but that's a possibility.
During times of social unrest, scores are settled. It just happens that way. So, if things get bad enough here, and if law and order breaks down, chances are you're going to see some scores settled.
Yeah, they say the killings are random, but do we know that they're random? Not really.
So I'm sure some are. There's some
Yes.
rage killings there.
Oh, yes, I'm sure of that.
But underneath that, yeah, you can damn near guarantee that scores were settled. Again, it's human nature. You remove the restraints on the law and order. Yeah, things are going to get crazy.
Steve, there's another thing you can remove too. That will drive people to do this. Hope.
Oh yeah, that's important.
And I'm using hope as kind of a catch-all word here because in China, people were willing to make a trade with the government. We will let the government have complete political control if you provide enough for me to live, for me to eat and to function in society. The people would be willing to accept a fairly low level of subsistence but the government had to provide it. And the government cannot provide that in a depression. And so when you listen to Chinese people talk, they always talk about it in terms of why hasn't the government done something? Well, they can't. But the people don't
Well,
know that.
the government didn't have to do something as long as they laid the groundwork for economic opportunity.
There's not.
So if you thought, I'm doing this good, oh, I got a bigger raise this year than I did last year, or I got the same raise, food didn't go up, I'm doing a little bit better. Okay, if I don't like this job, I can go find another job. Okay, I can see a future for myself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on Elena, was it on Elena's channel that we did a stream? We talked about the plight. Was it? I think it was Elena's channel. Might have been us, but talked about how men are losing their jobs. They're desperate to find jobs. The women are leaving them with the kids after like 6 months, right? And they can never
That could
really
be
get
either.
hired again.
It could be on either channel because I think we've covered it
I
on
don't
both.
remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get into something like that in one of the other videos that we're going to play.
Yes.
Revenge attacks and random killings to express social dissatisfaction continue to spread across China. Under Chinese Communist Party rule, the country faces high youth unemployment, massive debt, and a
I actually just want to stop on this scene here, guys, because just to point something out, this scene is not unlike the scenes that you see in places like Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, New York, big cities where you have large homeless populations. But you don't see this ever presented by any official Chinese sources. We have to get this data and see these things from somewhere else. The point here is not so much to say, oh, China has it bad, see, haha. We don't. The point here is to see that just because China says something is true does not mean that it actually is. I mean, these are just dudes sleeping. That's all it is.
Stagnant real estate market, draining the life savings of many families and leaving some with nothing to lose. The suppression of public demands for justice has intensified societal hostility, leading to frequent malicious incidents suspected to be acts of social retaliation and random killings to express discontent. On the evening of June 17th, outside the gate of Shenyang University in Liaoning, a Route 126 bus repeatedly collided with cars and pedestrians, leaving the road littered with wrecked vehicles and people lying motionless. Reports indicate approximately 18 casualties. Chinese authorities attributed the incident to the driver's mishandling, but netizens suspect it was a deliberate attack to exact revenge. Dashcam footage showed vehicles queued to turn left when a bus on the right suddenly ran a red light and plowed into the turning traffic. On June 4th, a random stabbing incident occurred in a cafeteria at Wuhan University, leaving multiple people injured and bleeding. Online rumors suggest the male suspect, whose thesis was not approved, felt unfairly treated and had posted in advance announcing plans to randomly kill people, seeking a few lucky spectators to join me on the road. Official reports state that 3 people were injured, and the 23-year-old suspect has been detained. On May 19th, a shocking violent incident occurred in Chongqing's Kaohsiung Men commercial area. A man threw multiple Molotov cocktails at a mall entrance, causing flames and thick smoke as people fled in panic. Bystanders subdued the man, and police intervened to investigate. No media reports surfaced, and related videos and posts on mainland Chinese platforms were deleted, though they remain visible on overseas platforms like X, YouTube, and Facebook. Most shocking was an incident on the evening of May 18th, when a shooting occurred at an outdoor barbecue stall in Wuhan's Chaoku district, Hubei. Some X-users claimed 2 police officers were shot in the head. Mainland Chinese social media heavily censored comments, while the official report described it as an intentional injury case, resulting in 1 death and 2 injuries, with the suspect apprehended. On May 15th, China Newsweek reported that a vehicle crashed into pedestrians near an elementary school in Beijing's Haidian district, sparking public concern. Netizens cited locals claiming a black Tesla deliberately rammed into a crowd at Jinjin Elementary School during school dismissal, hitting over a dozen people. On April 28th, a rumored indiscriminate attack at a Tianjin hospital reportedly involved a man stabbing at least 5 doctors, with some in critical condition. On April 24th, a student at Liaoning Railway Vocational and Technical College allegedly stabbed multiple dorm mates, killing 3 and seriously injuring 3 others. CCP authorities heavily suppressed information about the incident. Regarding the ongoing...
So, to me, I'm seeing a mix of things in here, to Steve's earlier point. Some of this is just frustration at the life is not going how they were promised, and they are just flailing angry. And you can see some of that in the US right now. But what I find interesting is that no amount of censorship has stopped it. And I suspect that's because the problem isn't one of, copycats. Like we can have a problem here with our sensationalism of it. It's a problem of people are just genuinely at wit's end.
We see a lot of similar violence here in the U.S. China is not a peaceful country. They have a lot. You think we have a lot of ethnic groups here? China has more. Okay, they're all Asians. But they got, I don't know how many different ethnicities, tribes, think of it that way, that lived adjacent and have ancient histories and grudges against each other. And, they kind of all got mixed together, but they still have their core area. When things get tough, difficult times, these ancient grudges come out. I mean, just look at how, in our recent history, how Yugoslavia devolved. Serbs, Croats, Bosnians are genetically similar people. Serbs are Orthodox. Croats are Catholic. Bosnians are Muslim. And it came out. Oh man, and it was bloody and it was ugly. Okay, we're gonna see the same thing in China as things kind of unravel. Maybe this is the early stages of that, and I think it's only going to get worse.
Yes, this is definitely not enough yet to overwhelm the Chinese security services. Whatever, I don't know what they call them, their internal security forces. But as I said, there's interesting things going on here. First, you don't see this kind of stuff when the actual economy is growing, doing well, healthy. Okay, you just don't see it because people psychologically have more to lose by doing things like this. This is what it looks like when people lose hope. They lose the belief that there is a future for them at all.
Well, that's like what happens to men that get divorced, raped.
Yeah.
Well, we did I did a show on that. The color of law enforcement.
Yeah.
A lot of men are not that pleased with the system. They don't believe that the rule of law exists in this country. So they're not that favorable towards the police. They're not angry. I mean, they're not going to take it out on them. But, if they get into the thick of things, don't expect me to come and help you out. That's my attitude.
Well, and I think that's most people's attitude. They don't harbor ill will towards the concept of policing. They probably harbor ill will to a few certain specimens of the system. But for the most part, I mean, well, and here's another aspect of it. Let's say you do go help an officer. Chances are you'll get in trouble for trying. You didn't do something right, or you harmed a special category of person, right? In order to try and help. So,
and especially if the police officer is a woman and she's incapable of
So-
subduing a person, then you try to intervene.
no,
Ugh.
yeah, no, I do not see any benefit in helping female cops for the same reason I see. I mean, because you're seeing all the women are whining about, men won't help us at work. I saw a Twitter post. It was, don't sit next to women on flights. Don't get a separate hotel room. Don't don't be in a closed office with. It's like, well, okay, don't help female cops because you don't know what's going to happen to you.
If you help a female cop, if you help a male cop, if you help another person in whatever group, you're just helping a person. That group will never come to your defense in the future.
Correct.
Your deed will not be rewarded by ingratiating yourself to the group. You help a woman, will women help you in the future? No. You help a cop, will cops in general give you the benefit of the doubt in the future?
Oh.
Steve, you actually reminded me of something. Way back many, many years ago, when I was in flight school, there was an incident where a captain of a 757 for then Continental Airlines died in flight, just fell over, did the death rattle right there on the flight deck. The FO calls back. Anybody on the plane knows how to fly a plane. Only person on the plane was a student pilot. Bring them on up. They know how to work radios. The student pilot gets a recognition in the kind of the corporate world. They're awarded a medal. The IATA has these award ceremonies for passengers who help out flight crews, and that student pilot got a fast track ticket to go work for United. That group, so you helped the pilot. That group helped that person, right? It worked in both ways. That is a high trust system. You help me, I'll help you. The reason the police don't have that is because if you help the police later on, they're going to have forgotten that you exist, who you are, that you helped before. They're not going to count that at all.
Especially if you're a man and there's a female involved. You're effed.
Yeah. And so, like in aviation, people will still go up and help when it happens. It has happened since, and people still go up and help, and they still get the recognition, and people still go up and help. Guys, like if there's any cops listening, that's what you have to do to get the help you want. You have to help that person out, give them the benefit of the doubt later on.
Yeah. So, my story, they invaded a church, drew lasers on my chest. I thought I was going to die, arrested me, threw me in jail. Okay. So, how many times did I talk to the police department when I was like vice president of the Ministerial Association and president of the Ministerial Association? All the time, right? Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't fucking matter. Doesn't matter, guys.
If you were a politician, it would matter.
Yeah. Hey, I had a senator of South Dakota as an elder in my church. What did he do? No, he threw me under the bus too. Fuck that guy.
Well, here's the thing. By the way, here's an idea from us to the world. If you want people to help you, help them out when they need it. That's it. Just remember who the people who helped are and say, you know what? We're going to give that one the benefit of the doubt. That one is special.
But it's so much easier to kick a man when he's down.
Well, yes, true. But it means that man will kick you when you're down. Like, there you go, police. We have just given the police of this nation an idea to help improve their image. Do I expect them to take it? No. I don't. It's not going to happen. But
so, hey, how much more do you of this video? Well, let's watch a bit more.
Okay, we'll do a little bit. I really want to get to the next one because I remember this one.
Going violent incidents in Chinese society, Radio Free Asia previously cited a Financial Times report stating that despite strict government controls on weapon access, such as banning private gun ownership and requiring ID for knife purchases, knife attacks have become frequent in recent years. Due to the CCP's censorship, these incidents represent only the tip of the iceberg. Commentators note that frequent violent incidents reflect mounting social pressures and hostility in China. The authorities' persistent suppression of information, while ignoring the root causes of social issues, only exacerbates the cycle of violence. As China's economy continues to decline, unemployment rises, and survival challenges intensify, coupled with judicial injustice and escalating conflicts between officials and the public, social tensions are worsening. This has led to frequent extreme incidents. The tools used in these attacks have escalated, from knives to vehicles, guns, and now Molotov cocktails, raising concerns about future developments. Experts criticize CCP's information suppression.
That's the end of that segment, and I think we can probably stop it there.
Okay.
More control while providing nothing, while everything crumbles around you. How about that doesn't work? It can only work so much until it reaches a breaking point, because they never fix the actual issues.
That's actually a better way of stating what I wanted to say. So I'll just leave it at that.
Well, I didn't know what you were going to say, but there you go.
Well, but yeah, it's just exactly that. You can only exert so much control before the population just explodes on you. And at the end of the day, there are never enough police, security forces, whatever you want to call them. They're always horrifically outnumbered. And there comes a point where the population no longer cares if a few of them die, because they're
French
hungry
Revolution
anyway.
much, and I don't like the French Revolution. I think it's terrible, but yeah, it happens.
Right. There comes a point where you're so hungry that you don't care if you die. That bullet is a mercy. And so it's better to go out for a cause than to just whimper and moan and expire on the sidewalk. And people will start doing that.
Hey, I've heard. Hey, Nick, I heard.
So should I get in contempt or not?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Hey, Nick, I've heard in the French Revolution, people lost their heads and some people died.
Yeah, a lot of them. And so it's a version of the Night of the Long Knives. It's got this really big freaking knife that came down on your head called the guillotine. But yeah, lots of heads rolled.
And that happened in a so-called civilized country.
Yeah.
Don't think.
Who took over after that? Did it last? You created a power vacuum of chaos. What happens in a power vacuum of chaos to restore order? What do you need? Will a democracy or republic work? No, who took control?
Wasn't the guy kind of had a short stature and a big ego?
Yeah, Napoleon. Yeah, Napoleon. Yep.
Yes, this is actually so. What happened? The general cycle is the chaos spreads, and people beg for somebody to come stop the chaos, but it's always somebody. It's never a deliberative body of Republicans. It's never that.
No.
It's
No.
it's a Napoleon. It's a Tsar. It's a king. Okay. Here's the thing. I don't think it will get so bad in the United States that we go down the hegemonic route. However, China has a long history of hegemonic leadership. For them, a hegemonic collapse would be historically expected. Actually,
Hey, what of the Roman Empire? Nick, Rome started as a republic, correct?
Sure.
Then there was a lot of infighting. And then what happened?
No. Yeah.
What was the form of
they stabbed
government?
Julius.
It went to a Caesar.
Yep.
It kind of ceased being a republic. I mean, yeah,
Well,
I
the
think they still
senators,
had a senate.
the senators assassinated Caesar, right? Then a war broke out. Then the empire started. Of course, there were triumvirates and other crap before Caesar, and he was just like the head one that came out in the end. And then there's further wars, and Augustus Caesar reigned supreme.
But yeah, the form of government changed.
Yep.
So will that happen here? I'm not going that far. I don't know. But things will change when there's unrest. I can say that much. That's a trend.
one of the things we were talking about this last week a little bit. One of the interesting things about a crisis point is that it gives the country, the nation, the group, whatever you want to call it, the authority to open up the rule book and completely rewrite it from the ground up. A king can do that, right? The king comes in and says, here's the new rules and everyone's going to follow these. Okay. That's one way of doing this. That's the French Revolution route. Note that the French actually, it's interesting, they had their king, but not for very long, because they didn't actually really want the king to lead them. They just wanted the king to end the chaos. And then he actually brought more chaos to the Republic, and that was kind of the end of that. So,
the dictator, well, Napoleon.
yes.
And they had kings before. Then they had the unrest. Then Napoleon came. Did he declare himself king? He was never really called king of France.
He did declare himself king. I don't know that it ever stuck.
Emperor.
Yeah, Emperor. Yeah.
And I think there's a story with he placed the crown on his own head.
He did,
the Pope
yes.
offered him the crown, and he placed the crown on his own head, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead
So
of the Pope putting it on his head. Yeah.
So, you know, like yeah, he was a king, he was a dictator, but they kicked him out and they banished him
Then he came back and it didn't work.
Right. Because the French people no longer needed that sort of intervention. That I think is actually an interesting way to do it.
What was the island they put him on? Was it St. Helena?
St. Helena, yeah.
Yeah, you know how far St. Helena is from
Isn't it over by, I want to say it's over by Italy, but
no. Okay. I know this because the furthest, most far awayest point of civilization is Tristan da Cunha. And it's a little ass island. It has, I don't know, 1,400 people on it. And it's halfway between South America and Africa, in the middle of nowhere. And the nearest point of civilization to that is St. Helena, which is, I don't know, 600-800 miles north. So St. Helena is absolutely in the middle of the South Atlantic. It's far,
so he's
far
first
away.
exiled to Elba, then he was exiled to St. Helena.
Elba, yeah, that's
that's
what
right.
I was thinking of. Yeah, Saint Helena was the second exile. Yes.
Okay,
Something didn't sound. I was
that
like,
has
wait a minute.
nothing to do with anything.
Something. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
we're on
it's
China
just a
red
little
pill.
history.
Gosh, we're going off track, guys. Sorry.
we rabbit trail. It's what we do. Oh, speaking of red pill stuff, I have another video loaded.
Oh, great.
This one is 12 minutes long. I don't know that we need to watch all of it, but this is some good red pill meat. So we might stick with this one for a little while. Feel free to interrupt if you guys want to.
All right.
I love their title.
Oh, snap.
我能说我每个月负债都得1W 吗？
I want to say that I'm in debt up to 10,000 yuan each month.
Oh, you mean you're asking if a man could help you pay off your debt? How old are you?
31 years old.
How did you get into debt?
My credit card is maxed out. I hope that you can bear the financial pressure with me, as I see half of my future with you. I want a happy marriage and don't want to get divorced. Where are these rescue heroes? Can someone come and take this older, not-so-great leftover woman? I was born in 1995, so I'm 30 years old. I don't have a house, a car, savings, a job, or an education. I'm looking for someone to take me as a wife. Gentlemen who are still single, there's a rare opportunity now. Don't miss it or it'll be gone. If someone can pay off my 260,000 yuan of debt, buy me a new EV and a new iPhone 16, I will walk away with them. First come, first served. So hurry up. As long as you can help me pay off my current debt and transfer a property in Beijing to my name, I will marry you. I have no other demands. First, I owe almost 4 million, and the pressure is overwhelming. I'm also at the age where I should get married. I was born in 1990, and my business didn't succeed before, but I still have an entrepreneurial spirit and want to try again. However, I feel like I'm lacking resources.
Okay, guys, just for
where's the dowry? Where's the dowry?
I just have to laugh for a minute. Holy shit!
There's no dowry here. It's
well,
just debt.
There can't be. So this chick right here, this one on screen, she says she has 4 million yuan in debt.
I want to know what that is conversion wise.
I'm going to tell you.
Divide by 8.
Yeah, 8, 7.5, somewhere in there. It's a bit over $500,000, depending on the conversion rate.
That hell, as White Claw says, hell no.
Right. It's okay. So, what's 4 million divided by 8? It's 500,000. So it's somewhere in there. Okay.
What the fuck?
And
but go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, she had more demands, didn't she?
That's what I was gonna say.
She has more?
Oh yeah.
Oh wait, there's more.
Well, if we go back a little bit here, let's see.
She says I have no other demands.
Or no, sorry, it was this one.
No.
No.
Oh no, play it from here. We'll get it.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It's pretty quick.
I have no other demands. First, I owe almost 4 million, and the pressure is overwhelming. I'm also at the age where I should get married. I was born in 1990, and my business didn't succeed before, but I still have an entrepreneurial spirit and want to try again. However, I feel like I'm lacking resources, and I don't have anyone to help me. So I'm looking for a man who has succeeded in business with an annual income of at least 10 million yuan.
Didn't she say she had no other demands?
She said she had no other demands, but I think she said she wanted him to buy her a house in Beijing.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And then she said she has an entrepreneurial spirit, so he needs to fund her next business venture.
Oh God! Look,
I don't know where that's in here, or maybe I'm mixing two of them.
There's a few,
doesn't
but
matter.
Look, here's the deal. If you have one business that fails as a businessman, I'm not going to be jumping into funding the next failure.
No.
Second, I need someone who can pay off my debt because the pressure is too much, and I want them to transfer a property in Beijing to my name.
There it is, Steve.
If possible, I hope that they can help me continue my entrepreneurial journey and make money together. That's it. No one would expect an influencer to bring over 3 million yuan in debt in search of a partner. Whether she can find someone in the matchmaking market remains uncertain, and it's
Well, hey, that's interesting. Nick, aren't these supposed to be, more traditional Chinese women? They're not supposed to be feminists, are they? What?
They're all feminists dressed in trad garb. Come on. It's bull
She's
crap.
not
Where's
dressed
the
in
dowry?
trad
Where's
garb.
the dowry? Oh, what she's wearing, I guess her shoulders showing. I guess it's kind of like, I'm sort of traditional,
But
but
look
not.
at the color of her lipstick. Oh,
Yeah.
what luscious lips.
Uh-huh. Mm.
Where's the dowry?
There is none. She's 4 million in debt.
Debt and probably run through and a failure and buy her this and you have to make this. I'm out.
Hey, you know what? Nick, you think like a Chinese man.
Oh, this video
Good.
goes hard, guys. It's only 12 minutes long, but this one goes hard.
What's the word for leftover woman in China? What's the word they call them?
That leftover is the term they actually use. I don't know it in Chinese. Elena might know, but I don't know what it is in Chinese. So, but they actually call them
leftover women.
They call them leftover women. Yeah.
This is your leftover woman.
Yep.
Coming to the United States near you, even though you kind of see it a little bit, maybe not to this extreme, but
well,
they're already here. They're already here. They're already left over. They're just not agitated enough to talk like this one.
The United States is not as far along the economic downturn as China is. China's been in an economic downturn for a year and a half now. Things are starting to actually really hurt. Chinese had deep credit they could go get. They burnt off a lot of their parents' savings as well to live on. So yeah, China is not as they are further down the path than we are than the US is.
I heard someplace recently that their peak was right around 2016.
Yeah, but there's a big flat spot. There's a big kind of flat spot in the data.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, remember the change from the peak. At first, it doesn't go down very fast because you're rounding the top of that curve.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been at the peak. It's going down a little bit. So after 5 years, maybe you're only down 5%. Okay. Yeah, it's just a little blip. Just
a little gully. So Andrew,
but then it accelerates.
So Andrew, leftover women when there are 30 million excess males. This video is actually going to hint as to why that is. They don't say it outright, but they do kind of hint at why this is a thing. And that comes later in the video. So we might have to watch all the way through this one. This is on the shorter side, but this video, for being short, it goes hard.
It's a tough ask. What do you think, viewers? Can she find someone willing to take on this responsibility? With China's economy in decline and unemployment rates rising, especially for highly educated women facing financial difficulties, some individuals may turn to gold digging as a shortcut to escape financial hardship. On social media, gold digging women has become a hot topic. The phenomenon of women using marriage to pay off debt will peak in the second half of this year. This is no joke. Many gold diggers' financial schemes have already collapsed. Guys, they're desperately looking for someone to take over the debt. Let me tell you this. If you don't open your eyes and protect yourself, the wealth you worked so hard for will be wasted, leaving you with nothing. They treat marriage like a business, demanding a large dowry to pay off their pre-marriage online loans, and then they divorce you, disappearing with the debt. Are you scared?
Nick, you were asking where the dowry is. There you go. You're supposed to. It's dowry. They use dowry and bride price interchangeably there because men traditionally buy the women in Chinese culture.
Well,
Right.
where's the
I mean,
hymen proof?
our friend Shaw, well, he's done a lot of research on it. He defines it as a dowry is something, the money that the woman's family pays the man to take the woman, and it's still her money if he leaves her, but it's put in his hands. It's a payment towards the man. The bride price is a Chinese custom, and it's a payment from the groom's family to the bride's family.
Correct.
So
yes.
they work
I'd understand.
completely opposite culturally. They have completely
Well,
different outcomes.
But it makes sense
I
when
would
you consider.
understand if there's a hymen, right? If there's proof of the hymen, right?
I
That's
think
the
this
blood on the
video. I
marriage
think this
bed.
video touches on that. But Andrew's comment actually is getting at this. The bride price is because there is an excess of males, and so there is this view amongst Chinese women that a man must compete financially for her, right? And
Doesn't work.
and later in the video, they actually get into a little bit of like the man's thought process behind this. So
How can you avoid it? What should you do if it happens? Anyone who marries without exchanging credit reports is a fool. Trust me. If you encounter a woman using marriage to clear her debt, 100% of the time, she's not been properly investigated and has probably brainwashed you with sweet words. Remember, always check credit reports before marriage. If she refuses or keeps making excuses, don't say anything. Just walk away and protect your wallet. In recent years, as social and economic pressures have increased, personal debt issues have become more prominent. Recently, China Women's News highlighted a worrying trend. Some women, unable to repay loans and facing debt crises, are attempting to use dowries to clear their debts, treating marriage as a means to solve their financial problems. Men who fall victim to these gold diggers often feel deceived and exploited, leading to significant psychological distress.
Hello, everyone. My name is Luo Xiangjun. I'd like to advise everyone to be cautious when it comes to arranged marriages. I married a woman through an arranged meeting, and after 13 days of marriage, she had health issues and refused to go to the hospital. After seeking treatment from a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, she was diagnosed with a congenital uterine condition.
All right, so that's one pair of glasses with prescription lenses plus anti-reflective lens.
I paid for the treatment, but after realizing I had no savings, she secretly took valuable items from my home and refused to continue living with me. I spent over 500,000 yuan, including the dowry of 268,000 yuan and a 62,000 yuan gold ring, and now I'm left with nothing. My parents used all their savings to support our wedding, and now they are in debt. I only filed for a lawsuit concerning the dowry and jewelry, but the court only allowed me 40,000 yuan and the ring. I want to.
does this sound similar to what might happen here in the United States with divorces?
No, it's actually better.
Okay.
Not only would you not get shit back, right, in the US, you'd be required to support that standard of living in many cases because, women are strong, independent, but they're always the victim, and you need to support them no matter what, even though there's no coverture. But
okay. So China did pass a law this year. This is actually a couple months ago. A woman who marries a man and then gets divorced cannot take any of the divorce property. That's how bad it is. The government has now stepped in and to try and curb the excesses of these women. It's not in this video. I read it somewhere else, but it's
But
very
then there's
recent.
that other case.
I posted it on my Twitter. I reposted it on my Twitter, and I put
There's
it on the
that
chat.
other recent case about the man who is convicted of rape because he was engaged to this woman. They were going to get married. Things got a little frisky. He didn't actually penetrate her. She got pissed off and accused him, and it was proven that he didn't actually do the deed, but he was still convicted of rape on her testimony and ended up going to prison. That created a big stir. It is holy shit. The back and forth, or the battle of the sexes in China, is really serious.
Well, what's interesting, and they don't talk about it as much in this video. There's an older video they did about 6 months ago, I think, where they were talking about how women, because there are so many more men than women, that the women were placing their value to men much, much higher. You had to come with these exorbitant bride prices. You needed to have a living unit in some swanky place in a big city like Shenzhen, Guangdong, Beijing, etc. You know, and it couldn't just be that city. It had to be, you know, the trendy, swanky part. And they were talking about how marriage works in China, and there was this deal like you can't move out of your class of zone. You have to stay in your, you know. So if you're in a tier 2 city, you can't just move to a tier 1 city unless you get married. So you know there were all these things that the women had to add, that because they're
so completely silly. And I'm using the word literally silly. She's 30 years old. She's got a bachelor's and a master's, maybe even a PhD, and she got a job. And now she's this high-skilled, wonderful woman. And because she is so rare, so educated, and so phenomenally excellent, she needs a man that is equal but a little better than her. Makes just gobs and gobs of money. But that guy, he says, who, what, why? You're 30. I got enough money. I can go out and I can get a 22-year-old who has a lot more fertility than you. And I don't give a shit about your education. So, yeah, I'm passing you by. And they're just getting livid about that.
Yep. All right. We'll continue. This video, this is a fun one.
Warn everyone to be cautious with arranged marriages. Don't let yourself or your parents become victims of people trying to profit from your hard-earned money.
How can you identify such women? One influencer explains, if I were a gold digger looking for a provider, I'd definitely display the 4 following behaviors. First, I wouldn't care about your feelings because I don't like you. Your feelings don't matter to me. What matters is that I'm happy. The sweet words I say to you are just learned experiences. You're the one hearing them for the first time. Second, I would never apologize to you. You think I don't know what's wrong? Forcing you to compromise isn't because of my strong self-esteem or nature. Stop making excuses for me. The truth is, I've never cared about you, and I'm not afraid to lose you. If you insist on solving the problem, sorry, I'll just get rid of you because I don't want to solve it. I just want to gain something. If you insist, I'll just move on to someone else. Third, I take but never give. If you willingly spend money and energy on me, I should enjoy it, right? When you buy me gifts, I'll say I love you, but inside, I think you're a fool. If I really loved you, your money would be your future assets. There's no way I'd waste it. Fourth, I don't care about your long-term development. I've never thought about being part of your future. I'm just here to temporarily satisfy my own needs. What's wrong with that? Guys, have you encountered a girl like this? Gold diggers share one common trait.
That's
They're
in the U.S.
beautiful,
all the
using
time.
their look.
That's the women in the U.S. all the time.
Yeah.
Men serve.
But they won't
their
admit
needs.
to it, Nick.
Oh, of course not, but that's pretty much the truth. Yeah, I get it. There's good women out there. I won't deny that, but a lot of these modern career boss women that fail, that aren't really making that much money, yeah, they start getting desperate, and then their selfish nature is really there. But most men ignore it because they say, there's pussy. Oh, there's boobs. Oh, she's into me. I'll simp. Have a couple kids and you're fucked.
Really, that's the problem is that all these women know. And look, these are just women out there saying, oh yeah, here's what I do. I do this, I do this, I do this. Right. And they're just, it's just like reading off of a menu for them. That is their level of concern and interest. They're just reading off the local dim sum menu, right? So yes, these men out there, but also you can look at the Chinese marriage rates, the Chinese birth rates. You can look at the American Chinese or the American birth rates, the American marriage rates, and you can see that yes, look, there will always be men out there who will slobber over a woman who gives them any amount of attention. Those men have always been with us and they always will be with us. But the trends of the data tell you where this is going in China and in the United States. There will be fewer and fewer simps. And
what's making them angry? They can't find them as easily.
Yes, exactly. That's why they're so angry. And remember, these girls are trying to solve an economic problem with this. Well, when there's fewer and fewer simps, okay, that means that each simp now has to provide more and more to each woman. Or what's more likely to happen is they have less and less to provide to each woman. And so when you see these women on TikTok complaining about, well, guys ain't shit, they don't have enough. That's kind of what you're actually hearing the women say. They're saying, I cannot find a guy with enough resources to take care of the things that I want. And that's true. There are fewer men out there who have the kinds of resources you need to take care of your needs and wants. And so
Isaiah 3 turns into Isaiah 4. History as old as time.
Well, I was thinking about that, and we've talked before about the generational cycle, but yeah, and I was, as I was pissing off a Twitter personality over this, I was actually thinking of Isaiah 3 and Isaiah 4. It's like there are guardrails built into human psychology that have been around since as far back as we have written history that we can identify, right? Obviously it's harder to identify them, but you can probably assume that they were there on the basis of the fact that they've been there throughout the entire recorded history of humanity. Isaiah 3 will turn into Isaiah 4 for all these women, but it takes a long time.
Deep strife, hard times.
How does Isaiah describe it in Isaiah 3? Because he makes it sound really bad before they give up.
I gotta go get my Bible.
Oh darn, he has to go get his Bible, guys.
I'm reading through Isaiah right now, so it's a couple pages over. Isaiah. All right. Well, it talks about women ruling over him, all that, and that's an abomination. And verse 16 of Isaiah 3. Moreover, the Lord saith, Behold, the daughters of Zion are haughty, and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go, and making a tinkling with their feet. Therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover her secret parts. Ooh. And that day the Lord will take away the bravery of their tinkling ornaments about their feet and their calls and their round tires like the moon, and the chains and the bracelets and the mufflers, the bonnets and the ornaments of the legs and the headbands and the tablets and the earrings and the rings and the nose jewels, the changeable suits of apparel and the mantles and the wimples and the crisping pins, the glasses and the fine linen, the hoods and the veils shall come to pass. Instead of a sweet smell, there shall be a stink. Instead of a girdle, a rent. And instead of a well set hair, baldness. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth, and burning instead of beauty. Then thy men shall fall by the sword, and thy mighty in the war. And her gates shall lament and mourn, and she, being desolate, shall sit upon the ground. And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. There you go.
So Nick, Sackcloth. That's pretty far down the clothing stack there.
Yeah.
But hey, guys, I have a solution to this. Good Christian solution.
Oh boy, here we go.
Let's hope it doesn't come to this. Let's hope that women just come to their senses and, just return to their proper roles. Just let's think of the best and just marry them and turn them into good women. Let's just hope.
What's happen?
It doesn't work that way.
Can the leopard change your spots?
No.
There you go.
Hope is not a strategy, folks. And we'll probably keep on saying that.
No. Okay, I said that because what are the trad cons peddling?
Hope. Oh, well, specifically a false hope. It's actually, what they're really peddling is an insurance program under the guise of hope. Ooh, Tacticus. Sorry, I'm watching the chat here. So Chief asks a great question. I was thinking about how to answer it. How bad does it have to get? The Ukrainian women just partied during their war collapse. Yes, because they could escape their war collapse, which is exactly what Tacticus says here. It's because they could escape it. The Isaiah situation is inescapable. And the interesting thing about that is actually China. Most people in China cannot afford to escape China. They are stuck with the situation that they have. Okay. Yes, some Ukrainian women could afford to leave. They did. Not all of them, though. And so they could escape it and they continued to party. That is more just kicking the can down the road than anything else.
And a lot of the Ukrainian men who went to war cared enough about their women to fund the woman's escape.
Yep.
And did the woman repay that with faithfulness?
Hell no.
Stereotypically.
And the Russian men, right? And what happens to the Russian men too?
Yeah. Oh, well, we've talked about the in Russia they have the bride cycle where she marries a guy, marries a guy coming into the military. He goes off, gets killed. She collects the payment. Then she goes back and does another one, right? Marries another one, collects the payment. Like the women have a whole strategy for this in Russia too. We're not saying either side is like better here.
Oh no, I'm not. Right.
But the reason they could do that is because they could escape it. Or in the case of the Russian women, they just weren't involved in it at all. But, they weren't involved in the actual fighting. But when you listen to the Ukrainian men, they know who those women are who left and partied. Do not expect those women to have a good time if they go back to Ukraine.
Oh no. I mean, the French men settled some scores, not nasty, if you ask me, after the war for the French women that fraternized with the German soldiers.
Oh, World War II.
Yeah,
yes.
They humiliated them, shaved their head
as well.
It was men. Remember this. But okay, so that aside, so let's think about the future. When times get tough, everybody has less money. Men generally survive. The women hope it gets better, but in the meantime, right now, they have credit cards. So in order to avoid the pain, they'll just charge more on credit cards. Sometimes really get tough. Their hole is deeper. They are deeper in debt. Then, okay, a woman 5 years ago, okay, she's got college debt. Yeah, you're gonna have to pay for that. You wife her up, and yeah, you got to take care of those things. In the future, it's gonna be worse. No,
Okay.
she's instead of $20,000 in debt, she's gonna be 60, 70, $80,000 in debt or more.
Dude, these women in China, I bet, are looking to get some dumbass passport bro to take them out of there.
Fuck yes, they are.
Uh-huh. And the dumbass here is like, oh, she's nice to me. She's traditional. No, she's just escaping debt. She'll get her U.S. citizenship and dump your ass. By the way,
Yup.
unfortunately for the women in the U.S., they really don't have another means of escape. They're just kind of screwed unless the government decides to bail them out or they marry a dumbass who will fund their lifestyles forever, especially if they have kids.
Well, the married women are all going to Canada if you ask them. So, or the U.S. women are all going to Canada.
Really?
It's if you ask them, or Europe, or they think they're going to go somewhere in Europe.
Canadian men don't have any money. I mean, they're worse off than the U.S. men. The Canadian economy is worse than the U.S.
Yep.
Go ahead. Let's ship them to Canada. I'm all in favor of that.
The European economies are worse than the Canadian economy, and their demographics are worse too. There is, and that's kind of where, I think Tactic has nailed it. Eventually, the situation becomes one that you just cannot escape. And these Chinese women, they have, you heard it in the stories, they have that credit card debt that Steve is talking about. The American women, I'm starting to see the same stories crop up. I've run out of my credit cards and I don't know what to do. I need to find a man to take care of me. We're not as far along this path as the Chinese are, but we are on the same path. And so it stands to reason that if we are on the same path as the Chinese, we will end where they end. Maybe not as deep, down the economic trough, but the same events that they are seeing, we will see.
But you have to understand that the debt's really not her fault.
Oh boy.
Because of the essential.
I'm out.
Okay. It's just absolutely essential. She gets her nails done every 4 weeks. Otherwise, it'll look horrendous. She needs to get her hair styled or cut every 4 to 6 weeks. It's just a requirement. And her skin, she needs those facial treatments because she has to maintain her beauty. Okay, and then throw in, a pedicure, ma'am, that might be essential. Bikini wax, okay. You know what? She worked really hard this month. She needs a spa day.
Oh, God.
Now, whether she has a man or not, these things
Steve, I love
are
how you
essential.
do this.
Because you know what? She has to keep up her appearance. And how the hell can she find that man to solve her problems if she doesn't keep herself up? I mean, you can understand the money she's spending. It's not her fault. These things are essential. And you know what? Then there's that. You gotta have that Starbucks cup of coffee because you don't want to deprive you. That gives her the peace every morning that she can have her pumpkin latte foo drink, whatever.
Steve, she deserves it. That pumpkin spice latte. She deserves it.
You deserve another beer.
You go do that. We'll continue because
that's You think I'm poking fun at this? I am. But reality is that is typical female rationalization. Not saying all women do that, but a lot of them do.
Well,
That
Andrew,
is the rationalization process that allows them to keep going into debt.
Well, Andrew, he says she's investing in herself. And that's interesting because if you can use debt to generate a higher return on investment than the cost of the debt, then you actually, yes, you are investing in yourself. Now, for women, I don't think that ever is actually going to mathematically pencil out because these treatments are ongoing things. She has to keep doing them, right? And so she has to find a man who is not just paying for the current treatment, but can pay for all of the prior treatments that she put on credit. So every treatment you add up increases the return that she has to generate on the investment she's making in herself. And that's a nonlinear curve, guys.
I have a response to that. Is maintenance ever an investment?
I would say maintenance, like if you're putting maintenance on your car, it kind of is because it keeps you out from having to get the loan on the new car.
It's not an investment. It's
yeah,
just maintaining the value and avoiding greater depreciation.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Okay, so I'll share a little story. I was watching the Astros game, and my buddy was tending the bar, and had this girl that sit over there. She just wouldn't shut the hell up, wouldn't leave me alone. Come to find out, oh, I'm celebrating. I graduated. Now I'm going to be an RN. I'm like, okay, red flag. Oh, I used to be a stripper. Red flag. Oh, I got 2 kids. Red flag, right? Major freaking flags, right? Whoa, but I'm a traditional good woman. Yeah, bull crap. And I'm wondering how much debt is this woman in, right?
She's a stripper. They all come with debt. She has 2 kids.
And I look at her nails, I look at her makeup, and I'm like, leave me alone. And then my buddy at the bar is like, yeah. He's just like, nope.
She's a creature, a bar creature.
Yep. Leave them alone. Do not buy into their crap. Move along. And the Astros won that day. I think it was a good day.
I'm not. I don't know which jokes your friends make about that, but
they're doing pretty good
Trait.
this year.
They're beautiful, using their looks as an asset. They're savvy about self-care and know how to exploit their advantages. They prioritize money and are often vain. Even more dangerous than gold diggers are those who marry to pay off debt. While gold diggers deceive you temporarily, debt-clearing women deceive you for a lifetime. 1. They constantly talk about money, not love. They refuse to marry without a house, a car, or a dowry. They aren't looking for a partner, they're looking for an investor. 2. They pressure for a fast marriage. After a short time, they push you to get a marriage certificate, not because of love, but because their creditors are pressuring them to pay up. 3. They boast excessively and compare themselves to others. When their friends receive large dowries, they demand the same. You discuss feelings, they discuss financial guarantees. Data shows that from 2024 to May 2025, the number of women defaulting on credit card debts has increased by 48%. This doesn't even include those who are in debt due to buying a house. Simply spending on personal consumption.
What were we just talking about? So we in the United States have not hit the point of mass defaults. I can tell you that right now. I watch the credit card default data. It's part of my standard macroeconomic review of the data that we get. We're not there yet. Okay. And Andrew, he puts this casting maintenance expenses as investment is part of rationalization. Yeah, that's exactly true. Like I maintain my car because I like my car and also because I don't want to have to go into debt. And that's a good reason to maintain your car. You don't need anything more than that. But women, you're maintaining a constantly depreciating asset. So, you know, for which you cannot replace, as in the woman cannot replace. But the United States, you know, we're always looking and we're saying, okay, where is the
ROI, I think she's trying to say.
yeah, I think she's trying to say
ROR, return.
Or rate of
well,
return.
yeah,
rate of return. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
The rate of return is always negative on these, so it is what it is. The rate of return on a good woman is negative. I hate to say it, guys, but it just is. You are not going to get in what you put out. So, yes.
Yeah. Okay. You know, you guys like my acronyms? I'd explain this one to Nick. The CPF. Remember that one, Nick?
Yeah, I still can't remember it. Oh no, I do now. Cost per F word.
Cost per fuck. So
Yeah.
once she leaves you and you end up paying alimony, divorce attorney, child support, you know
The
what?
horse cheaper.
That
The horse
CPF
cheaper.
continues to rise. After she's gone, your CPF goes up.
Yep.
Think
You're
about
still
that,
paying.
guys.
The math on
Okay,
this is
so
simple,
look,
guys. You're still paying.
I'm not saying go out and effing whores, right? But it's cheap
No, I'm not saying that.
economically.
But you know
I'm
what?
not saying it, you know, just
Once you pay for that one time, it's done.
Your CPF.
You marry a gold digger, you have unlimited risk there.
Yep.
well, two of us know here. One was lucky.
Yeah, lucky would be about the right description. But yeah, guys, that, you know, why we say we are not at the point of China yet. We're not in the crisis yet, and this is one of those metrics you can use. What is the default rates? The Chinese are way ahead of us on this.
Did you hear
food,
how much it went up?
48%.
A jump of 48%.
Of
It's
what?
like, holy shit.
Okay, what
credit card default rates?
Women's credit card defaults.
Yes.
That's 50% increase. Okay, it went from 100 to 150. It's like, that's huge. No,
that's a cataclysm.
That data doesn't move that way normally. That's how close to the edge they were. And when the shit hits the fan, that's how much it's going to increase. It is just astounding.
Okay. Here's a hot tip for you guys out there, especially you single ones. There will be wage garnishments coming starting October 1st in the United States for student loans. It is at that point in the October, November, and December data series for credit card delinquencies that I expect to see a significant jump in delinquencies here in the United States. I also suspect in that time period, you will see a significant increase in this kind of behavior out of American women. This is part of why we wanted to put this one up here, is because we're giving you guys 3 months head start notice that this is where the women are going to be starting middle of October, late October, depending on certain factors. Because remember, it's
Josh,
give
I
them
love how
a couple
Plutarch just brings out
months.
the numbers.
What?
End
I
of the
just
year.
love how Plutarch brings out the numbers.
Okay, they're going to be not paying their credit cards starting in October.
Yes.
It's going to take them 30, 60, 90 days to really catch up. So, yeah, okay. The avalanche is going to hit January of 26.
You will start you will start to see an increase. You will start to see an increase because there are, particularly in the people who are already writing delinquencies. So there's lots of people who they'll do like 30 days, then do a catch-up payment, then let it slide 30 days. And so you'll start to see, but avalanche is a good word because it'll start slowly, but you'll start to see it. TikTok, there will be women on there who are like, oh man, I can't pay.
You know what this means? You're going to make my job harder. They're going to make my job harder because I have to look at all these freaking liens and these judgments against them for what I'm
Yes.
doing.
Yes.
Hey,
God damn it.
Nick, there's a simple solution. Just raise your prices.
No, what I'm saying is what I do. I have to research all these liens and
He's talking about
mortgages.
his job.
I know.
Yeah. Fuck. Oh my
Say,
God.
hey, it's just gotten worse. My skills are even more important now. My cost or my hourly rate just went up by 20%. Yeah. Maybe you can do that.
Well, yeah, that'll be happening at the same time that the economy's falling apart. So, but yes. So, gentlemen who are listening, keep an eye out for October into January. You're going to see a ramp up, and particularly next year's going to be bad economically, guys. I don't see any way that it magically recovers. I know there's people who hope it will, but like the housing market's falling. Yeah, well, exactly. The housing market's falling apart as we speak. You're going to see that also come to start to really hit the news in that October timeframe. Summer
are all selling off.
Yeah. Well, so you've got this credit card delinquencies and this student loan wage garnishment that's going to hit the people who bought houses hardest. So you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff just kind of go boom right then and there. Okay. And it'll happen. It'll take about 6 months for it to happen. You'll start to see the first signs in mid to late October. And then you've got to get through March, April next year before you really start to see what the damage is actually going to be. Okay. That's like, but that's where the Chinese are right now. They're going through that right now. So this is us trying to help you guys in the future saying, oh, when that comes here, I knew that was coming.
Wouldn't it hit Europe a little bit before it hits here?
Europe did not. So Europe had a major housing collapse in 2008, and they did not go crazy on housing again like we did. So they don't have that same. Their problems are more demographic. They're going to be deeper, but it's going to take them a lot longer to get there. Okay. So, I mean, Europe's demographic problems are for the late. They are for the 2029, 2030 problem. That's going to be their contribution to the crisis is demographics. So, all right, let's continue.
Let's get back to the shit.
Entertainment and beauty has left many women unable to pay their credit cards. The rapid expansion of this demographic is striking. In contrast, the rise in men's debt is primarily linked to defaults on major purchases like car loans and mortgages. While this category is also growing, its overall scale and rate of increase may not be as alarming as the surge in defaults on personal consumption loans among women. This is because men who can afford cars and homes remain a minority, whereas most men unable to afford such large purchases typically manage their daily expenses more cautiously. Many have even increased their savings in response to growing economic uncertainty. However, recent moves by certain banks to classify older single women and divorced women as high-risk clients have sparked significant public attention.
捞你经济彻底崩盘了，捞你的预期力像坐火箭似的一路狂飙。
The economic collapse of the gold-digging woman is now a reality, with secondhand luxury goods platforms experiencing a 47% surge in sales since the beginning of 2025. Once considered a symbol of high society,
47% in 5 months.
Oh, shit.
Let that sink in.
Oh, dang. Okay.
Guys, I love numbers. I love data. And that's why I keep pointing these things out. 47% in 5 months is just unheard of in an economic scale data series.
Shanghai afternoon teas are now advertised at a 30% discount to attract customers. Cosmetic procedures have seen prices drop dramatically, with treatments once costing thousands now available for just a few hundred yuan. The reason behind the shift is that, simply put,
Okay, guys, here's another thing. You hear what they said there. This treatment cost a few thousand, now it costs a few hundred. That is textbook deflation. China is in right now a deflationary depression. Yeah. I know the CCP puts out their hopium numbers. Congrats to them for cooking the books.
Numbers, that was great. Oh my gosh.
Congrats to them for cooking the books and convincing the average American investor yet again. This is that is actual deflation in action right there.
Guys, I think I did something wrong here. If I'd have been spending that money on facial treatments, that little stone roller thing on my face, just think how much better I'd look now.
You're missing your hat, man.
Steve, I don't know that you get that lucky.
Oh, he's saying there's no fixing me.
No, you just gotta wear that. You gotta wear the nice hat. It'll fix everything.
men are no longer willing to foot the bill. With no new fish to catch and no income or workability, these women are tightening their belts, selling off their luxury items, and struggling to make ends meet. Meanwhile, the rate of credit card defaults among women has skyrocketed, and many of the women once dreaming of striking it rich are now seen as defaulters, with financial institutions tightening credit limits for single women. In the past, men would spare no expense to please these women, buying them limited edition handbags and booking 5-star hotel rooms. But now, luxury goods like diamonds and even lipstick are unsellable, leaving the gold diggers in a precarious position. Can they bounce back? As men become increasingly aware, they realize that money doesn't necessarily buy happiness. More and more men are seeing through the deceptive nature of gold diggers, prompting an escalation in their tactics. Now a new trend has emerged: property fishing. Property fishing refers to a tactic where women use marriage to transfer their husband's property to their own.
Gentlemen in the United
now
States.
we are we three. Now we are we three with Steve's hat.
Gentlemen in the United States, there's a reason I wanted to get all the way through this video, and this is why. Women in the United States are going to look at what these Chinese women are doing, and they're going to go, that, I want more of that. So, guys, please watch. This is coming to the United States, to a state near you next year.
Name. When divorce occurs, they stand to make a significant profit, leaving the men not only emotionally deceived, but financially devastated as well. This practice has mainly emerged in high-cost cities like Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, Guangzhou, and Hangzhou, with a single apartment often worth millions or even tens of millions. These cities have attracted the attention of those looking to exploit the system. A woman in Shanghai, Mrs. Liu, faced such a situation. She found out that her son was dating a very attractive woman, whose background seemed flawless, despite coming from a small city. The two quickly began discussing marriage, and to ensure her son and daughter-in-law could settle comfortably after marriage, Mrs. Liu made the tough decision to sell her old house in the city center and bought a new one in the outskirts, paying in full. Shanghai's property prices are among the highest in the country, so upgrading to a new home requires significant savings. After the wedding, the young couple moved into the new home, and Mrs. Liu thought her worries were over. But not long after, she received devastating news. Her daughter-in-law suddenly asked for a divorce and hired a lawyer to claim half of the value of the house. The house cost the couple all their savings, along with the money from their old home. Now, over 1 million yuan is at risk of being split, which seems unimaginable. However, the other party provided evidence that the house was purchased after the couple got their marriage certificate, and both names were on the property deed, so it is considered joint marital property. Now, the wife wants to take half the house in the divorce, leaving Mrs. Liu completely stunned. She never imagined that after working hard for half her life, all the savings she and her husband accumulated to buy the house would be lost this way. Not only did she not get the grandchild she hoped for, but half the money invested in the house is now gone. Mrs. Liu shared her story with others, only to find that many were experiencing the same. For families in first-tier cities with some savings, the prevalence of property fishing has become a nightmare. Many parents don't know if their son's fiancée is genuinely interested in marriage or if she's simply after the house. The pressure to marry their children off quickly often leads families into these traps. The only way to prevent this is if parents carefully investigate their children's partners, spend more time getting to know them, and avoid rushing into marriage. Property fishing is essentially a financial transfer tactic that exploits high property prices and legal loopholes in marriage laws. Women use short-term marriages or even rushed marriages to have the property registered as joint marital property. When divorce occurs, they can claim half the property's value. For example, in Beijing, a property valued at 8 million yuan could yield a 4 million yuan payout after divorce, equivalent to decades of an average person's salary. The rising unemployment rate has only intensified this behavior. As for some, the potential earnings from property fishing far outweigh what they could earn through regular work. Prevent fire, theft, and gold diggers. This has become a popular saying on the internet. Many people now keep evidence of their relationships with gold diggers to protect themselves in case they are later exploited. This is a sad reflection of society. The combination of high unemployment rates and soaring property prices has created fertile ground for gold diggers and property fishing. The root cause lies in economic hardships and the collapse of social trust. The high unemployment rate has exacerbated young people's financial insecurity, while high property prices have turned real estate into the central battleground of marriage negotiations. Some individuals choose to use marriage to acquire wealth, leading to extreme behaviors like property fishing. This phenomenon is not.
Okay, they're just
I wanna-
summing it up.
I want to say something here. So this whole divide of marital property, 50-50, is based on the fear, the old-fashioned fear of the man abandoning the woman and should not leave her destitute. Because at
Bullshit.
that time, women didn't have, well, the financial earning capability. But now, it's not that
Equal. They're equal.
They're equal. So we have egalitarianism. So now women are saying, I still get 50-50. It's 50-50. I get half of this. And so they're exploiting the system. So now the grandmother who put up the money, she's out. She's okay. It's the young women who have no restraint on them who are exploiting this. Not all women. I'm not casting all women under this, but a lot of them are. So, trends, in order to bring this back to something where society survives and marriage survives, the restraint on women will increase. It must increase. Now you can say, oh, the laws don't allow that. I don't care. I don't care. It has to happen. Laws do not protect us against something that has to happen or will happen.
Well,
now,
this is what
I'm
happened
not
when you-
advocating this. I'm just saying it's a trend that must happen to return things to normal, and the restraint will go too far. I'm also predicting that.
True. Natural law, right? This is what happens when a society, even the US, most of the world, even at this point, has rejected natural law, rejected the man being the authority figure, the one with authority, the one with power, who is the head of the household, right? The children belong to him, the estate belonged to him, except for the dowry. This is what happens when a society is let loose with this egalitarian feminism. And the only way to restore order is a return to natural order, which is the natural law.
So Andrew brought up a good point. Notice how this is framed as how it negatively affected the man's mother, not him. Look, that's just how things are reported now. People cannot think in any other mode other than how does this negatively affect women. So I'm not surprised to see it reported that way. And in this particular case, I kind of look at it and go, yeah, they reported it that way. I'll look past it because the data of and the future trends of where this video going are just so useful and so relevant to where we are today. Like, yeah, but that gets back to Nick's point and Steve's point. Look, gentlemen, laws can be rewritten at any moment. Laws are not written in stone; they're written in paper, which can burn. Like, so this idea that, well, the law is what it is. Yeah. Here's a cool thing about the crisis that we talk about. You can open up the book and you can and you have the moral authority from the population to rewrite all of it. When you trace the history of constitutional amendments to the United States, the vast majority of them occur in the direct aftermath of a crisis. The vast majority of them. Why? Because you have the moral authority to do so.
I want you to consider this. The pendulum. Right now, a man can be accused of abuse, and he has no recourse.
Yep,
No one
I
will
know.
come to his rescue.
I know.
At the other end, when the pendulum starts swinging back, what's the other end? Women will be abused.
That's sad.
Have no recourse.
And that's sad.
I'm not advocating that.
No,
But
I'm not
I am predicting that. Because you go to one
Isaiah 3
extreme,
turns into Isaiah 4.
you're going to go to the other extreme. Now, it's probably not going to happen in my lifetime. May not happen in the U.S. I hope it doesn't happen in the U.S. But globally, in a large way, it's going to happen. I think.
These things take. I was actually thinking about this, Steve. When these things actually take multiple generational cycles. So the cycle's about 80 to 100 years, and the real rise of feminism took, well, the 1841 Seneca Falls Convention on Women's Rights was 180 years ago. Oh, look at that. Just about almost 200 years. I suspect that's about what it'll take going the other direction.
It took place in 1848.
1848? Okay, damn it.
Yeah.
But,
I want to point out, I just thought of this. One mitigating influence, huge, Christianity, patriarchy. Because men's tendency, the majority of men, are not tended towards brutality. No. They are tended towards patriarchy. And yes, it involves restraint. But remember, a man is accountable to God. And as we are a Christian nation, he knows he needs to control what's his, and includes his wife and his children. But he's also accountable to God to how he does that. So that puts a check on his tendency towards brutality. So things probably for if we remain a Christian or Christianity returns, that's a mitigating factor. But if Christianity does not is not present in men or in a society, it's going to get really bad.
Yeah, although I want to caution the women listening, just because it might not get as bad as it could does not mean that you're going to enjoy this. There's, egalitarianism probably gets thrown on the bonfire of history as a result of this.
Thank God.
Your right to vote probably gets thrown on the bonfire of history because of.
Thank God.
That's why I was saying, in a crisis, you can open up the rule book and rewrite it.
a man's right to vote might go away in this as well.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm fine with that.
It'll either become a limited right to vote, like under some sort of rule system, like you have to have X amount of property or something, or it'll just go the route of the Caesars, and nobody
I'm
gets a
fine with
right to
either
vote.
one. I'm fine with either one.
So, yeah, again, we're not predicting events. We don't know how this is, what the exact path is going to take. What we're trying to say is there is a general direction that things are going. And I would, and I want to add this: the general direction that things are going is good, and it will, in the long term, allow humanity to rebuild itself. But what we are experiencing with demographics, economics, intersexual dynamics, relationships, all of that, what we are experiencing now is God's consequence. Okay. And I'm listening to all these tradcons and all these Christians out there speaking out about how we have to stop the demographic decline, how we have to stop, how we have to, the church, how we have to save all these reformed whores. No, we do not. And in fact, doing so is very likely against God's own design. These psychological systems were placed in us. And they were placed in us before the fall of man. Okay? The serpent would not have been able to convince Eve to eat the apple if these systems were not in place. That's a whole long psychological argument that I won't get into, but
Plutarch, how many Christians does it take to stop an avalanche?
I don't know, because they're all going to get run over by the avalanche.
Pretty much. Oh, you think your spirituality is going to save you from nature? No.
God does not exactly. God does not promise that your spirituality will save you from the natural consequences of your decisions. That is nowhere in the Bible. It might be in the Tradcon Prosperity Gospel Bible, but that's not in the actual Bible.
We don't live in we don't live in hold on. The days of Joshua. There's no guarantee of the sun standing still or walking around Jericho and it falling, or Moses holding the staff up and all the enemies of God are being conquered. Yeah, God may turn something around. Sure.
Yep.
That's always a possibility. But is that your plan? That God's going to rescue you from your own foolishness?
Well,
God's going to rescue us from our own debauchery?
Talked to my good friend, and he said all this war stuff with Israel means that we're in the end times and the rapture is near.
Oh no!
So, his problems are solved.
Steve, I see so much of this in the secular world as well.
That's why I have to bring it up. That is okay. I'm poking fun at it because I'm a Christian, but I don't believe in the rapture. It's not okay for all you Americans out there. You can be Christian and not believe in the rapture. In fact, for most of Christianity, they had no rapture. What the hell kind of baloney was that? And it's only in the last 150 years that this whole thing was trotted out. And it only exists, this belief system is in the US and Canada. And then, we sent missionaries out to the rest of the world. But this belief, the modern idea of American Christianity, was invented in America.
Well, and there's something else I want to say, because it's really easy to get caught up on the doomerism of it all. And I am not a doomer. I do not believe that this is the end. I believe that this is the just consequences. Okay, that we have sinned, mortally so, that there will be a price to pay for this, that this price will not be easy to endure, but that we will survive it. And so, when I see all these tradcons going, you don't understand, you've got to have more kids, we've got to have this birth rate line going up, and I'm just sitting here going, why? They will never tell you why. And here's the thing, demographically, there's been many times in human history where there have been these slumps in birth rates. Okay. Humanity always comes back. Here's a fun stat for you macro guys that I learned out of the H-1B debate. Every year since 1990, the United States has graduated 4 million high schoolers. And every year since 1990, on average, we've created 2 million jobs.
Shit.
We have too many people for what we can economically support as it is right now. It is now time for us to let other aspects of our civilization to catch up. And yes, that means a low birth rate. I was talking about how God built guardrails into the system. Our birth rate stayed high much longer than our technology level would have suggested that it should have. The birth rates really should have come down at a slow pace for the past about 150 years, because infant mortality was falling rapidly in the same period of time. They didn't. They kind of just crashed in the 1920s and 30s. Okay. So there's a catch-up period that we have to pay for demographically if we're going to run our society the way we do right now. Because there's a fun thing about that number that I just said. We graduate 4 million high schoolers, but we only create 2 million jobs. Well, if the women stop going to work, that balances that out pretty evenly, right? So it's not to say that this has to take a large amount of time, and there has to be a further population birth rate crunch, although there will be at some point. It's just to say that we need to spend some time paying for our sins. What's the term for that, Steve? Penance?
Penance, yeah. So here's another factor we haven't touched on. I don't want to mention it now, but I think I'd like to lead the way for a full episode on this. AI.
Oh no.
An impact on the job market. Because I've listened to a few things. The first jobs to go away with AI are the lower level back office support type jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Who has those jobs? Predominantly
women.
Oh yeah. Okay. Is AI going to put your electrician or a plumber out of work?
Nope.
HVAC technician? Nope. He's maybe get a bit more productive. A truck driver. You may say yes. I say nope, because he's dealing with a lot of shit. He's got to do that end mile. Yeah, it might take some of the long haul stuff. You might see automated trucks, but it's not going to eliminate the need for those. Okay, so my point is, it's going to affect more women's jobs than men's jobs. Oh, yeah. You know what? It's not going to affect. You'll still have a bunch of nurses. You'll still have daycare workers.
Yeah.
You'll still have your cleaning lady. The retail workers. No, those are already going away because people are buying online. There'll be more have you been to the grocery store? More self-checkout? Uh-huh. Less checkout people. Whose job does that affect? Men or women?
Steve, in the past 2 months, Microsoft has fired or announced firing 17,000 people. About 80% of those are in those back office jobs. Sales took a huge hit this next week. Their sales org's going to, and some of that is AI, because AI can do things like graphics generation that normally would require a team of artists, that now you just type it into the computer, it spits it out and you're done. Right. And so they don't need as many people to do what they were doing before. So there's an aspect here to this AI story that is, if you are in production, you work with your hands, you make things, you design things, even software, AI is not going to harm you. Some of you will be able to make use of it. Like Steve, I could see a situation where we use Tesla's technology, which is AI driven, to alleviate some of the hard work of long haul driving, truck driving.
Sure.
Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
It's going to happen. It's going to have an effect.
Yes.
Not going to eliminate. In my lifetime, it's not going to eliminate that job. It may reduce. Hey, you could even reduce the number of truck drivers. 20%, 30%. Okay. Whatever. It is what it is.
Don't know that there's a full episode in there, but we'll see. I'll take a look at it. I have my opinions about AI, but
we should touch on it. We'll put it together with something else.
Okay.
But okay, maybe the impacts of the future trends on men and women and how they will experience them differently. I don't know. It's just a kernel of thought. It's not well developed. Got to think about it for a while.
Nick, did you want to say something?
Well, I put some stuff in the private chat.
No. Yeah. I don't have anything else to say. Steve, we're 2 hours in. Did you want to watch that fourth video, or was this?
No. I just put it there in case we ran out of things to talk about.
Oh,
knowing
right,
that, that's not going to happen.
I really enjoyed that last video on China because it's a good video because there's hard data in there, right? You can see things, like the explosion of credit card defaults. And then we can tie that back to what's going on in the United States. We're not there yet. We are not as far along as the Chinese are. And our version will look different. We have a different culture than they do. Okay. But you guys are going to see the same trends. Women screaming for help with their debts. Women using one thing that they brought up that I thought was actually really insightful was that the high price of housing is encouraging these women to behave this way because they can get a lot out of it for doing it. What did she say? It's 500,000 won is like a couple decades of average wages. Like that's a huge deal.
Yeah, but our housing prices are going to go down.
Ours will, but I could see women here trying to ride that train. What I really think was interesting about it is we have the same problem that China. Our housing market hasn't cracked yet. Theirs actually cracked a year and a half ago.
So, another theme that I want to bring up, the ability of women to fake it, to fake their devotion and love for you.
You mean the mask they wear?
Yes, I did an entire, I led an episode on that. And man, were these gold diggers, were they wearing masks? Fool the man into think you're devoted and divorce him and take his money. Okay. Not, and I have to kind of defend women. A lot of women go into marriage, they don't have a gold digger intention. They don't.
Yeah.
But they are wearing a mask. And eventually they cannot wear that mask any longer. And they have to swing for another branch that might be more satisfying.
Monkey branch.
Wasn't intentional for her to screw you over, but she was still wearing a mask in order to pretend to be the woman, and she just couldn't be that woman anymore because it was fake. And she had to leave to go find herself.
So Shu left a comment here, and this is the only way you can deal with it. We've talked about the OODA loop before. Guys, it's all you've got. It works though. Oh,
Yeah,
also
describe that for any new viewers.
So the OODA loop, observe, orient, decide, and act. Okay. So you observe something. Yeah, it's a military term. It means you observe something, you orient yourself towards that thing, you decide what you're going to do about it, and then you act on that decision, and then you stop and you observe and you do it again. By the way, Shu, I just saw your comment that you left on the video from last week. Fantastic comment. I will do my best to get back to you later this evening. I do have a work thing going on as well, but I know I was active over on Twitter, and that meant I wasn't paying enough attention to YouTube. So, but great comment. I will leave you a response there. I actually have some ideas about what's going on, and yeah, I'll see you in the comments.
Hey, we appreciate our viewers.
Well, we don't have very many.
They don't. We don't, but they're faithful.
Yes.
They track with us and leave some great comments.
Yeah.
Oh,
go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, we thank our viewers. I want to reorient back to the red pill. So there's a red pill community in China. They're observing all this, and it just proves that female nature is multicultural.
I would use the term universal, but okay.
Universal. There you go. You have these leftover women, and you see what they do with the videos that we had tonight. We've had other videos on China and the red pill and their tofu construction and all that stuff. But yeah, so they have all these dating services trying to, these women are so desperate, but not desperate enough. They won't settle, right? They run through highly educated, demand extreme income, right? And most guys are saying a lot. Well, not I don't say most guys, but a lot of guys they see this and they say, "Nah, I'm out. I'm just going to go fishing."
That's a reasonable conclusion. But if he decides to go the other way and get a woman cannot manage herself. There is no ready-made woman. The man absolutely needs to keep his dominance and enforce boundaries and restrictions and lead. Yeah, some of that women have gone so far that it's probable that some of the controls that he needs to exert are beyond what would be considered legal. That's just my conclusion, okay? Not telling anybody to do anything. It's just my conclusion and observation.
Well, and Nick, there's another fascinating thing about red pill in China. Look at how much these women are willing to endure. They are still making demands with 4 million yuan in debt, half $1,000,000 in debt, and she's still making demands. One of the things I think that speaks to what Steve is getting at is these women have been allowed to go so far away from where they need to be to actually be well regulated women, to borrow a turn of phrase, that the amount of time that it's going to take to drag them back is going to be generational, because that
They
kind of
have no honor.
yeah, well, that kind of dysfunction is so embedded in the person that it doesn't go away until they die from old age or a lack of sanitation because the system collapsed around them. Doesn't matter. This kind of dysfunction does not just go away in a little tiff.
Nope.
No. So now, okay, think of cutting a green branch off a tree. You know, about that big around. Cutting it off, holding it in your hand. Now take it and say it gets bent all the way over to one side. Now you want to return it to straight. After you release it, it's going off at that angle. How do you return it to straight? You have to take it. You got to bend it all the way to the other side. And then you let it go, and it might come back to straight. You can't just gently coax it up into straight. You have to bend it all the way to the other side to straighten it out. So think about that as an analogy. Okay, if you assume feminism is taking us is bent reality or where things should be all the way over to one side, in order to correct it, you need an equal and opposite amount of correction so it can eventually kind of settle out to the middle. But you're gonna one extreme predicts the other extreme.
Isaiah 3 turns into Isaiah 4.
Yeah, I was just going to say, we see it in systems all over humanity. And this is why I was saying, I think this is a guardrail that's built into, if not our psychology, then our system of physics, like the very fundamental rules of the universe. And that causes a lot of heartburn, particularly for Christians when I bring this up, because it means that, well, it means that God may actually just let the hurt roll for a while, which they don't want to hear, of course. But it also means that they're railing against it, means that they're railing against God's design. And that really does not sit well with a lot of, particularly the prosperity gospel types, is like, no, God actually designed the system to work this way, which means that, yes, there will be downswings. There will be periods of famine, of want, we've had the greatest explosion of human prosperity in the past 150 to 200 years. Okay, there's going to be a payback for that, because that is the system that God set up. So
well, look, deviate from the natural order, you can only deviate so long before gravity takes its effect. It's like, oh, I'm free. I'm free falling from an airplane, but I have no parachute. Eventually, reality will catch up with you.
Or you'll impact straight into reality.
That's what I'm saying. Reality will catch up with you.
Well, you can ignore reality as long as you want, but you can't ignore the consequences of ignoring reality.
Yeah, and we're all saying the
There you
same
go.
thing, kind of different ways, and that's, take whichever analogy works best for you guys. I just, I do get frustrated with the tradcons saying that we have to prevent these bad things from happening.
No.
Do we? Is that our
No.
job, or is it our job to work and toil and suffer to create the future conditions for recovery?
Oh man, I was hoping there'd be a gradual return to the conditions of the 1950s.
Yeah, Steve.
No.
No, I don't think so. The trends do not suggest that being a thing.
That's the tradcon hope.
They're going to have a rough go of it over the next 10 to 15 years, and that's okay.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen is what Robert Louis Dabney predicted. The West, particularly America, even China perhaps, will be the scarecrow of the rest of the world of what happens when you adopt feminism.
Can I take that and tweak it just a little bit?
Sure.
The modern era, because I can point to you a place on the map and tell you how there's feminism there. The scarecrow is not just for the rest of the world as it is when the scarecrow is erected. The scarecrow is for the future.
Yeah. There's hardly a place on earth that feminism has not touched. And it's okay, I'm not blaming the women.
I do.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes I do. But it's a movement. And okay, remember, women are pliable. They react to the situation and the environment they're in, and they accommodate to it. And yes, also they have a tendency to want to be in charge, but they really don't like it when they're in charge. I mean, they don't feel secure. But yet, Genesis 3, her desire shall be for her husband, meaning she wants to be the boss, the husband, the leader, and he shall rule over her. Okay, that's the check. That's a tendency and what keeps it in check. So women are doing, they're just doing what their tendency is.
Yeah, but they still
and
have
they've
agency.
not been restrained.
They
So
still have
the
agency.
restraint will come. Yes, they do. They're not without responsibility. But we cannot solely blame women for the problems.
No.
Men allowed
Because
it to
men
happen.
also need to exercise their authority and restraint in public, over the world, and over their families, and over their wives, and over their children. So, okay, you can say the deck's stacked against men. Sure, I agree. I absolutely agree.
Reality.
And it's impossible, or nigh unto impossible. And okay, so yeah, the men kind of have an excuse. The women kind of have an excuse. It's all fucked up.
Fubar. And thus it shall be, and men will come in and clean up the mess. But I think, and Andrew says, the Tradcons think it's still salvageable. Yeah, you're right, they do. And the crisis is going to be where it becomes apparent that it's not salvageable. And that means that we who live after the crisis are going to have to develop, well, they will appear new. Those of us who are steeped in natural law and history will not see this as new, but we're going to have to develop new systems of culture and a new order of for women and men and how they should interact. And frankly, I want to see it at that table, which is why I
return to the natural order.
Yes,
return to the natural order.
Here's a funny thought. I'm the old guy. Some might consider me the wise old guy who has all this experience and, says these wise things and trying to help. Before this thing is turning around, I'm going to be dead. And Plutarch and Nick are going to be the wise old men advising younger men. Hey, you guys absolutely need to remember that when you're in another 30 years,
okay,
you're the wise old man, and you think, damn, that Sandman, he kind of said I'd be in this position. Now I am, and he's long gone.
Okay, how far are we going to take this, Dad? Now answer. The question is not how far. The question is, do you possess
the
Constitution
and the faith to take it as far as is necessary?
That's your line, Steve. Damn it!
Nah, I know. I think I've listened to it more than he has.
Right.
And look, I'll say this. I don't know if it should be me that's the wise old man, but Nick certainly has the chops for it. See, I'm more of a data guy. My view is I should be in the back room somewhere, advising people like Nick to, okay, well, here's where things, here's what the trends are, here's what the data say, here's where they are, and to help the message. But I don't know if I should be out there leading it. But if that's what I have to do, that's what I will do.
You don't get to choose your future.
I know. Hey, look, I was not, and I don't talk about it as much. I was actually not intending on being a content creator. My whole hope and goal was to be in the background somewhere, just, talking to other creators going, well, have you thought about this? You see that piece of data, did you consider this? Life didn't work that way.
I never set out to be a content creator.
I didn't either.
I just made a contact with Glenn Lawrence. Started talking to him. And, we can do a show. Okay, I'll do that. Sounds like fun. Nick is kind of the same, I think. Well, Plutarch is too.
Yep.
So we have to give some credit to Glenn Lawrence.
Yep.
For dragging us into this world of content creators. Or is it credit or blame?
Oh, well, yeah, that is a question, isn't it? No. Yeah, we mean well.
But we thank him for it. We do thank him for it. No. The world may not thank him for it.
Well, that's the world's problem, not our problem. And not his problem either.
Right. Well, we better cut this off. We're going long.
Yeah. We're kind of rambling. So that was a fun one though. And I really enjoyed that video. I think that video holds a lot of good information for you men in the United States. Actually, I will go put a link to that video in the description now, as we're coming to a close. And yeah, go check it out. Anything else, guys?
No.
No.
Please like and subscribe.
Oh yes, please do that. We have no
And
idea
see
what's
us on Saturday. I don't know what's going on Saturday at Elena's Bars Fitness at 10. No, it'll be 9:15 a.m. Pacific, 11:15 Central, etc.
Yes. No, I have no idea what the topics are for either of those, either her show or our show next week. We might do this
next week.
Oh, that's right. You have it.
I haven't decided.
Oh, well, guys, you'll just have to show up when your first warning will be when the thumbnail comes out, and that will let you know what Nick has decided to do.
I might go old school. Next week.
Hey, sounds great. So we will see you all on Saturday, and we will see you all on Wednesday for Nick getting medieval.
See you on the flip side.
Yeah.
Later.
Later.
There was a firefight! Son of a bitch!